In this episode, we're going to talk about why we think, feel, and act the way that we do. Mindset coaching is based on the premise that our thoughts create emotions and influence our behavior. There are three aspects: thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and how they interplay and influence each other. However, the area where we have the most control and power is our thoughts, because they are almost always the foundation of our emotions and the behaviors that we take because of them. The great news, which is why mindset coaching is so powerful, is because we can learn to have a greater control over our thoughts. We can have a greater control over our emotions and behaviors. Our brains are constantly processing our experiences, taking in information through our five senses. When you experience anything in life, it is interpreted by your brain, which in a split second, your brain will compare what it is taking it through the five senses, which it tells it what is going on in your experience. And it will compare it to everything else that you've ever experienced before. It is trying to make a snap judgment of what is going on, what it means, how you should feel about it, and what you should do because of it. The brain has evolved to rapidly interpret everything you experience, and it's so good at it that you don't even notice that it's happening. That's until something happens that causes your mind to interpret the situation as negative. It chooses a perspective or belief about the situation that creates the emotional reaction in your body. It's unpleasant, so it's noticeable. Your body reacts to this emotion, which is actually caused by the thought triggering your body to release any number of brain chemicals, often referred to as neurotransmitters, endorphins, or hormones. Your brain is like a chemical factory, and there's a different neurotransmitter that is responsible for every emotion that you feel. It all functions as it should. Something threatens you, your brain interprets it, it triggers the hormones, and it shoots through your body, inspiring you to spring into action. Someone tells you that they adore you, and you're flooded with feel-good chemicals. Our body and our brain is an amazing machine, but sometimes these emotional reactions get out of whack with what is actually happening. So you can feel anxious for no reason. Something small can make you furious, or you could be sad even doing something that normally would make you happy. What's happened is that your mind has learned a pattern of thinking that's faulty. Your brain is interpreting situations negatively even when they are not. Your mind is judging a situation or yourself. You see, you have unconscious, irrational beliefs impacting your perspective that you aren't even aware of. Your brain was doing what it does best, trying to interpret your world in a way that protects you. Unfortunately, as you have lived your life, your brain has got programmed by the world around you. Your thoughts have been influenced by the actions of others. Your core beliefs were adopted from the beliefs of others. And because you aren't aware of it, your mind became trapped by its own faulty beliefs. Your thoughts run amok, and you've never been taught how to actually catch them. And this happens to everyone. Our body and our brain, unfortunately, do not come with an owner's manual. But the good news is that the solution is simple. You can become more aware of this process. You can change your thought patterns and beliefs. You can reprogram yourself. You can become conscious of your unconscious thoughts and behaviors, and you can choose to experience more positive emotions and less negative ones. You have the power to control your mind, a power that has been withheld from you your entire life, and it's time you take your power back. So let's look at emotions. The best place to start a discussion about how thinking works and impacts your life is to look at emotions. Let me ask you a question. Should emotions be trusted? Some people say yes, and you should always trust your emotions, while other people say feelings are irrational and they can't be trusted. So which is it? Well, the truth is they're both wrong. Emotions and feelings are neither right or wrong, accurate or not. Emotions are simply your body's reaction to what you are thinking. Your belief system and other unconscious thoughts are happening on autopilot all the time, and they're causing emotions. That's why sometimes you have no idea why you feel the way you do. So here's a simple example why emotions are neither right or wrong, because they're just a reaction to your thoughts. Think about something that you really wish you had, but you don't have. You may feel unhappy because you don't have it. But that's not actually true. You're unhappy because of the thought of not having it. Let me prove this to you. Have you ever been happy while not having it? If you didn't have it, but you didn't care that you didn't have it, would you be happy? If you didn't have it, but you're doing something that kept you from thinking about it, a such thing as doing a roller coaster, would you be unhappy about not having it? No. You see that not having what you want does not make you feel bad. Thinking about it does. So where do emotions come from? Our unconscious mind and our senses are picking up on cues around our environment that trigger emotions, such as reading a person's body language or facial expression, having an automatic physiological response to something, or sensing danger and having an automatic response to fear. However, most of the time, it's not the outside world or the situation that's happening that causes our emotional reaction. It's what we're thinking. It's our mental filter that the situation passes through, aka our inference or our interpretation that causes our emotional reaction to the situation. So it looks like this. The situation or activating event happens, we make an inference, which is our automatic thoughts about it, and it causes an emotion. The key to understand here is that research over decades provides evidence that we can have control over our thoughts, and if we can have control over our thoughts, we can control our emotions. It may be challenging to do this, but it's a skill that can be learned. So here's the process. You recognize the emotion, you identify the thought that's going on, you change the thought, and therefore you change the emotion. So now let's look at changing the thought. Once you notice that the thought is happening, it becomes conscious instead of unconscious. Since you're now aware of it, you can now choose to change it. Your mind automatically interpreted the situation, but now that you're paying attention to it, you can choose a different interpretation or a different perspective. This is great news because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Even in the same situation or with the same facts, if you change your viewpoint, your experience of the situation will change too. Here's an example. A man is visiting a friend's house and he went into the kitchen to make himself some tea. He couldn't find a kettle, so he poured water into a glass coffee pot and placed it on the stove. He returned to the living room and a minute later smelled something burning. He returned to the kitchen and found the handle of the coffee pot had caught on fire, so he quickly put the fire out. He apologized to his friend profusely and was feeling both embarrassed and guilty. However, his friend was laughing hysterically and even complimented him on his fireman skills. You see, the same situation, but they both had different perspectives, and the result was that they both had completely different emotional responses to the same situation. So why does this matter? This matters because of course you want to feel better in your life. If you change your perspective of a situation, you will change your emotional reaction to it. But it gets even better than that. You see, your emotions are the driving force for your behaviors because the decisions you make are based on how you feel. And as you get better at being aware of your emotions and thinking, you're able to make better decisions from a place of control. You might feel a certain way, but you'll use your cognitive processes to choose to act from a place of rational thought. But because you're only starting mindset coaching now, you're not going to be in this place just yet, but you will get there in time. So here's where we are right now. You have a thought that leads to an emotion, it leads to a decision, and you take an action or behavior. The behaviors you exhibit and the actions you take are direct results of your thoughts. So if you're experiencing behavior you don't like or have been doing things that you aren't pleased with, your thoughts are ultimately to blame. If you can't see the behaviors or the actions you're doing that aren't serving you, look around at your life with the results you're experiencing. Have you been having any problems at work or in your relationships? Have you experienced anything unpleasant? Are there things that you want that you don't have? Or on the positive side, what are the aspects of your life you have managed to create that you want, enjoy, or love? The reason I ask is because I'm going to take the cause and effect train one more step. So you have a thought, in this case, that your wife broke a glass. You have an emotional reaction, which in this case is you feel angry. You make the decision to snap at your wife, and then the result, you sleep on the couch. That's right, your behaviors and actions are what will determine the results and outcomes you experience in your life, both the ones you want and the unwanted ones. So by changing your thoughts, you can literally transform your life. Literally. In the next episode, I'll dive into more about understanding how thinking works.